What's going on, New York Giants fans? Hit Squad back at it with another video, and we have episode 2 of the Giant Breakdown. And man, I am excited for this one. I really am. I mean, dude knows his ball with the Carolina Panthers. And I told you guys we were going to be having on content creators for the respective teams that will be playing week in and week out. Man, thank you so much for coming through. Again, seriously, for taking the time out to do this with us. How are you feeling, brother?
First of all, I appreciate the invite. I've been looking to collab with some other creators, and this is a great opportunity, so I appreciate it. And about this game specifically, I was feeling much better about this game before the Panthers played the Browns. After watching that, don't feel so good about this one.
Hey, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I thought, Carolina should have won that game. I thought Baker did enough in the second half to pull you guys through. And it's going to be a fun one, man. I mean, it really is. I think you guys might actually have something special with Baker going forward. And we're going to break all of that down. But if you guys are new to the channel, join the Hit Squad. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a like below as well. You can find Dat Dude Sports' link to his YouTube channel in the description below. Please go over and subscribe to his channel. Show him some love. Kid would greatly appreciate it, man.
Definitely would.
But let's get straight into this, brother. I mean, there's some storylines in this game that you and I both know, as well as Giants fans watching this. I mean, we have Baker Mayfield's comments about Daniel Jones a couple years back, pretty much stating he was kind of scratching his head as to why the Giants would have taken Daniel Jones where they did. Ben McAdoo, your offensive coordinator, was our former head coach. You also have Matt Rule, who was a lot of people had him penciled in to be the Giants' next head coach prior to them selecting Joe Judge. Obviously, he goes and signs with Carolina. I know we both have a dislike for Dave Gettleman, which I
Oh
love
yeah.
hearing that. And then, we have this year's draft, where both teams were looking at a tackle. A lot of Giants fans really wanted Akeem Aquanu. You also had a lot of Giants fans that wanted Evan Neal, but the Giants ended up selecting Evan Neal, and Carolina ended up selecting Akeem Aquanu out of NC State. But let me ask you, in regards to Akeem Aquanu, how has he been progressing? I thought he looked pretty good in college, if not really good in college. And I think there's a lot of high upside with this kid.
Well, so through training camp, he struggled early on in training camp, but
Mm,
you'd expect that from a rookie left tackle coming in,
definitely.
getting adjusted to the NFL game. But there was a actual scare, at least for me. I was concerned that he might not even be a starter for opening week because he wasn't taking reps at guard, and for most of training camp, he was
Mm,
playing at the second left tackle position. So he was backing up Brady Christensen. He didn't get the starting position until I want to say the last week of training camp. So there was a real fear for the first 2 weeks training camp that he might not play at all if he's not getting any snaps at guard. He's not starting at left tackle. Where's
mm,
he going to play?
yeah,
And so, but
definitely.
he eventually won the starting nod. I am of the mind that I'm not a fan of the way Matt Rule handles talent. I think he tends to play favorites, and I'm not sure he was actually in on the Equanu pick. So he
Mm,
maybe was giving his guy Brady Christensen a chance to win the job, was giving him all the opportunities, and eventually he had to put Equanu in because Equanu was just a better talent, and eventually went out that way. And
definitely.
so, yeah, there was a real fear for a while there that Equanu might not start, even though he was a sixth overall pick in the draft. Which you pick a guy sixth overall, he better start.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I mean, that's kind of crazy to hear. I mean, because Evan Neal, he had a little bit of struggles in training camp as well, but he had a lot of moments where he looked really good. Week one, going against that D line for the Tennessee Titans. He held his own for the most part. He had plays where he was beat, but then he kind of recovered really well. And I think with the Quanu, I mean, I think there's a lot of upside with this kid. I think that within the next 2-3 years, he could really solidify himself as one of the better left tackles in this league. I think he has all the tangibles you need to be really successful at the left tackle position. So I mean that's kind of interesting to hear that he was struggling in training camp.
He I went there in training camp a couple of times, and you get to watch the one-on-one drills. You can
Wow.
tell that the talent gap between like the pass rushers he was facing in the ACC
Mm.
is just different than what you're facing in NFL. You would expect
Oh
a guy to
yeah,
struggle with that transition. And
definitely.
then your first real live game NFL action, like a real game big against Miles Garrett, that's some real trial by fire stuff right there. He struggled against Miles Garrett, but I would expect any rookie left tackle to struggle against Miles Garrett in
Oh
his
yeah.
opening week. So I don't think him giving up. I want to say he gave up 2 sacks and I think another maybe strip sack or something like that in the game against Miles Garrett. But I wouldn't worry too much about it because again, that's maybe the best defensive end in the league he's
Yeah.
going up against in your first start as a rookie. But the guy has all the physical tools to be a great left tackle. He has the size, he has the foot speed, he has the power. In the run game, he's already pretty good, but it might take a year or two for his pass blocking to really catch up.
No, definitely. And look, Miles Garrett, like you stated, and I agree with you 100%. I think he's the best, defensive end in this league. I think that's great competition, for Akeem Aquanu.
Yeah,
Iron sharpens iron, and that's a great test. And, he's going to have a really good test this week as well, with the New York Giants, and we'll break down the injury report as well. But Kayvon Thibodeau, he may start this week, getting his first start as a NFL player. And there's a lot of promise there. We haven't had our premier edge rushers so far. Week one we ran out Jihad Ward and O'Shane Zimenez, who, not for nothing, they held their own, especially in the run game, but they're nowhere near, Kayvon Thibodeau or Azeez Ojulari, who's also dealing with a calf injury. But I think that, if Thibodeau's on the field or even Jihad Ward, I mean, that's going to be great competition for Akeem Aquanu. They're both players that got speed, that got a lot of strength to them, good with their hands. So, I think that's going to be good competition for them. But looking at the Panthers in itself, I thought, the storyline with you guys last year, out of the many was the offensive line. Obviously you guys go get Aquanu, but how is that offensive line looking outside of Aquanu? Is it relatively the same, would you say, or would you say it's taking a step forward?
it's taken a step forward, but you can take 3 steps forward from when they were last year, and you still wouldn't be a great offensive line. So
Gotcha.
they replaced. So the guy they had at left tackle last year, one of the last few weeks was Brady Christensen. He replaced, I want to say Cam Irving at left tackle. He might have been a guard, but he wasn't very good. So now we got Brady Christensen that moved down to left guard. You got Iquano at left tackle. They have a backup at center right now, Eifert. He's
Mm,
not very good, but they're hoping center they brought in during the offseason, Bozeman, can step in this week. I was looking at the injury report, and he's not listed, but hopefully he starts this week. They got a guy from the Browns, Austin Corbett, at our new right guard. And then our right tackle, Taylor Moton, is probably is definitely our best offensive lineman. He's been the Pro
okay.
Bowl caliber lineman for the past couple of seasons. He didn't fare so well against Jadeveon Clowney again in week one, but again, that's still Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah,
He's still a very solid right tackle in the league.
definitely.
Hopefully, he's is the one guy you expect to play well week in and week out, and then the rest of the offensive line is coming together fairly well. But still, 3 steps forward from when they were last year. Still not a good offensive line. They really struggled to create some running lanes for in the game in week one against the Browns. But hopefully, they fare a little better against the Giants
Mm.
and their passing sets. You can only take so much away. I don't want to keep harping on the fact that they were going against Miles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney week one.
No, that's a
Before
big point.
Yeah, but for a new offensive line, the Cleveland Browns might be your worst matchup you can play in your week one before you really have a time to gel and get your passing sets together and learn everybody learns their assignments.
Yeah.
I would give it a few weeks before I make a passing judgment on what this line is right now, but it's better than what it was last year.
Most definitely, and I completely understand that, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, and I know, you keep expressing, with Miles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, but those, I mean, maybe not Jadeveon Clowney as much at this point in his career, but Miles Garrett, he's going to give your best tackle, a fit. I don't
Yeah,
care if you have, Trent Williams out there. He's going to give that tackle problems. He's just that dominant.
the
Um,
guy's a freak of nature, and if
exactly.
Clowney's your number two defensive end, you got a really good line.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. And, as a Giants fan, I can relate, for God knows how long we've had a really bad offensive line. It's been abysmal outside of, in recent years, Andrew Thomas, who I'll give Dave Gettleman that much, for giving us a left tackle, a franchise left tackle. He's been
Yeah,
excellent for us. He's looking even better this year. I think that he's due for a Pro Bowl year this year. But with the offensive line, the Giants go out this year. We revamp the offensive line. We go get Mark Lewinsky, a free agency from the Colts. You go get John Feliciano from the Bills, so there's some familiarity there. Left guard's just been kind of hit or miss. We got some players going in and out. Joshua Zudu, who we selected in this past draft. Uh, it's going to take up some time to really develop. And I don't know necessarily if getting him more reps is going to really help him. I think that there's just a lot he has to work on. Shea Lemieux, who looked promising, he dealt with an injury throughout the summer, and I don't think he's going to be starting anytime soon. So the offensive line, while it's played, solid, well, let me not even say solid because Daniel Jones got sacked 5 times last week, and you guys got Brian Burns and Uter Gross Matos, who I was actually a fan of in the draft. So I think despite nothing, this offensive line is going to have their own problems of their own. Uh, so I mean, I could definitely understand that, man.
Right.
But let me ask you, in terms of Baker, I know a lot of people, especially outside of Carolina, when they see Baker, the first thing that they point to is, why didn't it work with Cleveland? They had all the talent around him. You have, if not the best running game, a top two running game in my opinion, a really good offensive line, a solid defense. I thought they had some stout wide receivers over there. I mean, do you see that, really clicking over there in Carolina? I mean, I thought that connection to Robbie Anderson last week looked really nice.
His connection with Robbie is very promising. If anybody's seen some of my videos, I am not the biggest Baker fan. Like I don't think he's trash. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think at the very least he's a capable NFL starter. But just in my opinion, he's not the guy I would have wanted. I would have rather you ride it out the last year with Sam Darnold, or preferably you start the rookie they drafted in the third round, Matt Corral. You ride him out for this year. If he's bad, okay, you draft a new quarterback, and then they go into the next draft.
Mm,
I would have preferred that over getting Baker because to me Baker is not elite. There's nothing about him that screams like a great talent. He can do a lot of things well. Don't get me wrong. He's not a bad quarterback. He can make most of the throws. But he doesn't have elite size. He doesn't have like an elite arm. Not an elite athlete. He's not like a great processor of what's going on in the field. He's just okay at a lot of things.
mm,
And to me, I want my quarterback to be great at least something.
yeah,
And to me,
certainly.
that's not Baker. But he's a capable NFL quarterback, and you can win games with a capable quarterback if the rest of your team is stacked with talent, which right now the Panthers aren't, in my opinion. Now they have more talent than they did last year, a couple of years ago, but they're not what the Browns were last year when it comes to defensive or offensive talent. At
Mm,
least not yet. So they have some guys who can maybe break out. They have DJ Moore, who's a great receiver. Robbie Anderson is a solid number two. After that, you're kind of looking at a bunch of a receiver group that's largely unproven. They drafted Terrace Marshall at LSU last year, and he has a great potential, but the guy can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the field.
mm,
They have Shy Smith, who was a late round pick. He's shown promise, but he was still a late round pick who hasn't played, much NFL games yet. So he has potential, but we don't know exactly what he's going to be. And then McCaffrey as your running back is a great running back. When healthy, might be the best running back in the league, but he hasn't been healthy the past couple of seasons. So how much can
okay,
you rely on that?
definitely.
So with all those things going on for the Panthers, you'd want your quarterback to be able to elevate the talent on your team. And I don't think that's Baker. I'd be happy if I was wrong. If I don't get me wrong, if Baker comes out here, throws for 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, I'll be the first to say I was wrong, and I'll be happy about it. I just don't see that happening this year because I don't think the talent around him will allow him to have a great season. But he's way better than Sam Darnold, which I'll take any day of the week.
Yeah, no, you and me both. I think honestly, I think Baker could be a capable quarterback in this league. I think that he's a gunslinger. I think honestly, I think he needs a solid shot, with Carolina. I think right now, I think you could build with him. I think if you guys can, keep attacking that offensive line, maybe get another wide receiver for him.
Hmm.
I think you guys really got something cooking there because I agree. I think for me personally, I would take him over Baker Mayfield. Excuse me, over Sam Darnold any day. Um,
Easy.
it's not even up for discussion. But I think when you have a guy that's looking, to prove something in this league, I mean, he has that grit to him, and I mean, he knows how to win for the most part. I got to give him that much. The Browns won a lot of games with him,
Mm.
um, but at the same time, I mean, I think he has his faults as well. Um, Now, I will say, I actually respect Carolina's wide receiving corps. I respect the hell out of Christian McCaffrey. I've been, trying to state to Giants fans that, we shouldn't overlook Carolina. While I have us winning, I don't I don't think that's a team that you should overlook whatsoever, because again, I thought you guys should have won that game against Cleveland. And I think that, you guys are going to have a fire under you guys, especially Baker, and Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I think he's a top three back in this league when he's healthy. He is a monster out of the backfield. And I mean, I'll tell you what, I know that the Giants were able to contain Derrick Henry to 82 yards last week, but that's a completely different style of a running back.
Yeah,
You know,
totally different running back. Yeah.
exactly. And
Yep.
their second string running back, who was catching passes out of the backfield, was destroying our linebacking corps. And that's he doesn't
Mm,
even touch, Christian McCaffrey. So, that's something that, the Giants are gonna have to be ready for. I'm not a fan of Tate Crowder lining up against Christian McCaffrey. I think Christian McCaffrey wins that 10 times out of 10 times. Um, Austin Carlito, who I mean, he's a journeyman linebacker. I mean, right now, I mean, we have some issues on our defensive side, which for me personally, as much as I worry about Christian McCaffrey, I worry about y'all's receiving corps because our cornerback too is such a question mark right now, and there's just unproven talent there to where it's okay if you line up a Dory Jackson on Robbie Anderson or DJ Moore, who's going to pick up the slack, with all
yeah.
the other wide receivers that you guys have. So, I don't think Giants fans should overlook this team, by the slightest. While beating a team like Tennessee, I mean, you have a whole different animal with Carolina, who, again, I think that y'all really got something with Baker, and I think you guys can win with this kid. Um, so it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be one in the trenches. Seriously, I think it's gonna be what offense can make the fewest mistakes. Honestly, and there's some familiarity. Baker and Wink, they were in the same division just last year. Wink
Mhm.
with the Ravens, Baker with the Browns. And as much as that helps the Giants, playing against Baker, that also helps Baker too. He knows what to expect, from this defensive scheme. He's faced it for years. So I think that this is going to be a game that's going to come down to the wire. I don't see any team outscoring each other by double digits. I'll say that much. I think it's going to be a one touchdown game, maybe even be a field goal. Because as much as I love the Giants and as much as, I was very hyped about this Titans win, I mean, we got a lot of problems of our own. Our offensive
Mhm.
line, while there's talent, it's thin. If one player goes down, I mean, the Giants are kind of in trouble. And you talk about Terrence Marshall, having promise, but he can't stay on the field. I mean, the same can be said with Kadarius Toney, who we selected in the first round. Now, I love Kadarius Toney to death. I think that he's going to be an elite wide receiver. I've been very vocal on Twitter of my support of Kadarius Toney, but right now he's dealing with a hamstring injury, which, considering that he only played, I think it was a total of 8 snaps last week. As a fan, that does kind of worry me. He dealt with the hamstring in the offseason. And he has a problem with staying on the field. And when he has the ball, he next to Saquon Barkley, he's one of those players that can take any play to the house. But again, can't stay on the field. So I mean, the Giants, again, they're going to have their hands full. Looking at the injury report right here, John Feliciano, he was limited in practice. We all know that Azeez Ojulari, one of our edge rushers, he's out with the calf injury. He's been nursing that for quite some time now. Thibs is dealing with that knee injury. Hopefully, he's looking to come back this game. He's telling reporters he feels optimistic. Kadarius Toney again with the hamstring. And then you have the do not practice list. Now, our cornerback too, Aaron Robinson, he just got appendicitis surgery. So he's gonna be out. So
Yeah, I was looking at that.
it's and I'm not gonna even act like Aaron Robinson was this dominant number two because I mean dude's constantly getting beat. He can recover well. He has nice length, but I mean he gets beat often. And what worries me is outside of that, you have a rookie in Cordell Flott who I think is undersized, and then you have Fabian Moreau who I mean I believe he gave up 500 yards last year and 5 touchdowns, and that worries me. That
Yeah.
really does. That worries me a lot. But at the same time, to kind of balance, the defense out, Wink does throw a lot of blitzes. We had a reporter today, kind of mentioned that I believe he was ranked 30th last week in blitzes, and he kind of chuckled at that. I guess he must have thought he threw more blitzes. So I would not be shocked if they blitz Baker Mayfield constantly going into this game. But it's going to come at a price, man, because if you get McCaffrey coming out of the backfield, you're done. You're done. It's going to be hard for the Giants to take that kid down. Um, but let me ask you, man. With going into this game, I know that you guys have Ben McAdoo as your offensive coordinator. How has the offense, at least so far, been looking with him? Because as a Giants fan, I mean, we had one of the worst offenses under him. And
Mhm.
you have Eli Manning as your quarterback. You have Odell in his prime as your wide receiver. And Odell at that time was literally our offense. Like our offense was very, very predictable under Ben McAdoo.
Yeah,
Granted,
that was prime Odell.
yeah, that was. Now, granted, that was back in 2016. So, I'm sure a lot has changed for Ben McAdoo, or so I would hope. But how has this offense been looking? I know we're only in week 2 right now, but so far from what you've seen, how would you say this offense is shaping up? Or
Uh,
what would you expect to see this offense shape
Well,
up to?
I want to start off by saying I believe the real value of Ben McAdoo on the Panthers is he gives Matt Rule someone who can shoot ideas off of who has NFL experience. I
Mhm.
believe one of the large reasons Matt Rule struggled his first couple of years is he came in and he brought a completely college staff with him. He didn't have a single coach on his staff or a single like major assistant who had NFL experience. That's a big adjustment to make the NFL game without any coaches with you that have NFL experience that really help you out. Like, yeah, Matt Rule back in the day was on a few pro staffs, but he's never been a head coach in the league. He's never been an OC or a DC in the league. So he came in with all these college coaches and all, but didn't wonder why he struggled adjusting to the NFL game. So I believe the major value of Ben McAdoo is he's been an NFL head coach, he's been an NFL OC, he has a lot of experience in the NFL. He can really help Matt Rule with that transition. But with this offense, one I want to say where Matt Rule and Ben McAdoo are going to butt heads is Ben McAdoo wants to throw the ball a lot more than Matt Rule does. Matt Rule is a more old style, run the ball 35 times a game, grind it out, and win the game that way. Whereas Ben McAdoo wants to open it up, open offense a little more, throw the ball around, spread defenses out, and move the ball, in that manner, which is more in line with the modern NFL game. I think Matt Rule's philosophy is a little outdated. You can win games being a run dominant team, but you only go so far before you have to score more points than you can being run dominant.
Definitely.
So, what I saw in week 1 with Ben McAdoo's offense, while the execution wasn't great, I like where he was heading. I like his ideas of spreading the ball out, taking more deep shots, not running the ball on first down every drive like the Panthers have done for years. That's been a major headache in this fan base for so long, where the Panthers offense has always seemed so predictable. Even when they had Cam, after where I believe they did Cam a huge disservice, but they made the offense so predictable. So you're always putting Cam in these 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 situations where he has to be Superman and dig you out of a hole. Where because defenses knew, okay, the Panthers are going to run on first down. If it's 1st and 10, they're going to run. If it's 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, they're probably going to run, and they always have to dig out of that hole. Where Ben McAdoo comes in, at least in week 1, he showed himself to be very aggressive, which I like. I like that he's trying to spread the ball out. Now, whether or not Baker is the quarterback who can do that with the talent currently on this team, with the offensive line they have, that's yet to be seen. But I like the idea of what he's trying to do. It's just they can keep it like iron out the execution, get their play calls maybe a little better, get Baker a little more used to the system, and go from there. But what he's trying to do with the offense, I like. I think it is more aligned with the modern NFL game because we all know the rules now are for passing. Everything now is geared towards letting offenses score more points. That's what the league
Okay.
wants. That's what the league office is making all the rules for. So most teams now, you really have to build your offense around the passing game. Even though you have Christian McCaffrey, who's a great running back, his real strength is he's a great runner of the ball, but his real strength is how versatile he is. He could get him out of the backfield, get him matched up on a linebacker in space. So you can still give McCaffrey all of his touches and be a passing offense,
Hmm.
which I think that's what Ben McAdoo wants to do. It's just whether or not Matt Rule will let him do it, because there's already reports that Matt Rule was unhappy with how much they passed the ball in week 1. He wanted to run the ball more, even though when you go back and look at the running numbers from week 1 against the Cleveland Browns, when they ran the ball, it didn't go well. It's not like they were gashing the Browns for 5 or 6 yards every carry. I think most of Christian McCaffrey's rushing yards from that game came off a broken play, When Baker Mayfield fumbled the ball, McCaffrey picked it up. It ran for like 20 yards. Those are the majority of his rushing yards from that game. But even still, Matt Rule was unhappy with how much they ran the ball. So we'll see against the Giants whether or not he lets Ben McAdoo game plan like he wants to, or whether or not Matt Rule really puts his fist down and says, "Okay, we're going to run the ball more." So it's it's to be determined how that plays out.
Most definitely, man. And I mean, I could definitely understand maybe why Rule would want to run the ball a little bit more, especially when you have Christian McCaffrey. But I just think when you have a player like that, I mean, a player that can not only just line up in the backfield, but he could also line up with the wide receivers too. And most of the time, he's going to take out your linebackers. Or if you line up a safety, Christian McCaffrey, I mean, I think that's a mismatch as well. You
Yeah,
know,
most safeties and linebackers can't hang with him in space. You get him
absolutely, yeah.
a little option route coming out of the backfield. Most of them can't cover that. I mean, a lot of corners are struggle to cover that. So let alone a linebacker or a safety.
Definitely, especially when you have someone as, elusive and, slippery as Christian McCaffrey. And I mean, look, with the Giants, I mean, they're looking to use Saquon in the run game, in the pass game. I mean, any time he's on the field, defensive coordinators, I feel like really just have to key in on this kid because I mean, I feel like if you're not going to pay attention to him on the field, or if you're going to line a linebacker on him or a safety, it's done. It's gone. Same with Christian McCaffrey. Now with the Giants, I think that for now, at least for the first couple weeks, the run game is going to have to carry the pass game because our passing game is just not there yet. I mean, there's a lot of different things going on. Kafka, who came from the Chiefs, and you had Dable from the Bills. It seems that they're blending in, both of these offenses together. And even though Kafka's calling plays, and he did a very good job calling a game against the Tennessee Titans, there was some things that they had to fix. In the passing game, while I am excited for it, I mean, DJ gets sacked 5 times. There was a strip sack that if Andrew Thomas doesn't, dive and damn near knock over Bud Dupree, I mean, that's a touchdown. So for me personally, as much as I want to see this passing game going, which I think that we're going to have to really establish that in this game, I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for this team to do that. And especially since that our second wide receiver, Wandale Robinson, is dealing with a knee injury. So he's going to be out for some time. So right now you're looking at Kenny Galladay, possibly Darius Slayton playing as well. I didn't see him on the injury report. Richie James, who actually had a pretty solid start for the New York Giants. He was getting most of the snaps, which was kind of shocking considering the fact that a lot of fans were looking to see, Kadarius Toney more on the field. I think that this game we'll see a lot of Kadarius Toney if he's playing. We saw moments last week where when he did have the ball, I mean, he was making plays. So that's something that the Giants are going to have to focus on. I really want to see them get the run game established just due to the fact that, again, I really respect y'all's defense. I think you guys have a solid defense. And I think, honestly, looking at that secondary, I mean, you guys have a talented secondary. I mean, the Giants are going to have they're going to have a matchup on their hands, whether they want to run the ball or whether they want to pass the ball. Let me ask you, I believe J.C. Horn is who you guys selected last year, correct?
Yeah,
How is he looking?
the guy has all the physical tools to be a shutdown corner in this league. He's like what 6'1", 6'2", a lean 205, 210. He can run. I think he ran a sub 4.4 at the combine. The guy is a crazy athlete. His major problem is defensive pass interference or holding. He tends to get a little grabby. It's a problem he's had going back to college. If he can just get that sorted out, he sticks to receivers like glue, and he has the size to match up with bigger receivers. He has the speed to match up with smaller, shiftier guys. It's He's a complete corner. He's in that Jalen Ramsey mode where there aren't many guys he just can't match up with.
Mhm.
And so what really scares me in this game is Kenny Galladay, because if they decide to match J.C. Horn on Galladay and he's followed Galladay around, I think that's a great matchup. I think it might favor the Panthers. But what scares me is if they don't decide to let J.C. Horn follow Galladay around, if you get Kenny Galladay matched up on Dante Jackson, who I like Dante Jackson, I think he is a pretty good number two corner. But he's short. He's only 5'8", 5'9". He's a small guy, but he's super fast. He's one of those guys you match up on the smaller, shifty slot receivers or your speed guys, the deep threats. But Kenny Galladay is what 6'4",
Mhm.
6'5". He's a big dude. if you get Dante Jackson, who's only 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, matched up with Kenny Galladay, I think that could be a mismatch where the Giants could exploit that if the Panthers don't decide to let J.C. Horn shadow Galladay for the whole game. So that would be something I really watch out for because if J.C. Horn doesn't shadow Galladay, I could see the Giants trying to move Galladay around and getting him matched up on a smaller corner, especially Dante Jackson, given just the size discrepancy there is so big. But J.C. Horn, I think he might fare better against receivers who try to dominate you with their size and athletic ability. Your receivers who run very great route tacticians, like an Amari Cooper last week. Amari Cooper didn't have a great game, but what he did do is he drew 2 or 3 holding calls on J.C. Horn because he's such a great route runner, and J.C. Horn still new. He got hurt early last year, so he's still basically a rookie when it comes to NFL experience. I don't think he's really learned how to deal with a guy who's just a great route tactician yet.
Mhm.
And so if you have a receiver like that, that is a more of a matchup for where J.C. Horn cannot play as well as opposed to a guy who's like just big and fast who tries to overwhelm you with their size and speed. I think J.C. Horn matches up great in that aspect. But your smaller, shifty guys who run really precise routes, he's not quite there yet where he can really match it with those guys and not, commit a penalty.
Most def, and it's funny that you mentioned Kenny Galladay because Kenny Galladay has not really been on the good side for a lot of Giants fans. I mean, for
Yeah.
some reason, it's just not working. Um, we last year you look at Jason Garrett's scheme, it was horrible. It was, in my honest opinion, the worst offense in the league. And we couldn't get nothing going with Kenny Galladay. And then you get, Brian Dable and Kaf get in, and I look at Galladay and I say, okay, maybe they use this guy, in a Gabriel Davis like way. They're similar builds. They have similar speeds to them, similar attributes, but for some reason, we just cannot get Galladay the ball. And a lot of fans question his heart. A lot of fans, kind of question if he even wants to be here anymore at this point because there are a lot of times where he just looks disinterested. He just looks like he doesn't want to be on the field. So I think that is a matchup that the Giants should look at to get this guy more involved. I'm looking for, the first Kenny Galladay touchdown this season. I mean, he did score a single touchdown for us last year, and he was a big acquisition. And I mean, I don't think he's going to be a Giant after this season, just looking at that contract.
Hmm.
But you look at the rest of the wide receiver corps, Sterling Shepard, he's a very good route runner. He's very quick and twitchy. Richie James is the same. Richie James and Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney, obviously the better receiver, but they have similar attributes and they're very elusive. They could create separation, and when they get the ball in their hands, I mean, they're very elusive. Now, where I kind of worry about is, is this offensive line going to have time, for Daniel Jones to, be able to get his receiver, to hit his receivers. Because again, last week going against the Titans, it just seemed like constant pressure in his face, especially, in the interior. Andrew Thomas completely shut out Bud Dupree, who I think is a solid pass rusher, made him look average in that game. But I think, if you were to put Brian Burns on Evan Neal, which I don't. I think if you're Carolina, you should do that just due to the fact that I mean I love Evan Neal. When he gets his hands on you, I mean you are not moving off of him. But I think that would be a very good matchup between the two.
He's
Um,
still a rookie.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, for Gross Matos, I mean, again, there's some talent there. I think he's a respectable player, but I'm more worried about the interior more than anything, to be honest with you. I think this is a game that the Giants, again, they're gonna have to run the ball with Saquon a lot. And I really want to see Daniel Jones, make the most out of his opportunities. We saw a bonehead play last week where, he throws this interception just staring down Saquon Barkley in the red zone. And looked like he was trying to back shoulder it to Saquon, which I don't think you do that with the running back. In the red zone, that's somewhere that the Giants have struggled
Yeah.
in recent years. And, I'm hoping as a fan, they improve in that aspect this season. But with the Giants, you see a lot of motion. You see a lot of, jet sweeps. There's a lot of times where you see two running backs on the field. Um, so for me, I mean, I just think it's giving DJ enough time, getting your playmakers the ball, whether that's Saquon Barkley, who single handedly was our offense last week, or Kadarius Toney. I think you have to get these players the ball. Now, one more thing before we get out of here and get some score predictions really quick. Um, Looking at Baker and Christian McCaffrey going into this game, who do you think has the better game? Would you say it's Christian McCaffrey or would you say it's Baker Mayfield in this game?
I'm going to say it's going to be Baker Mayfield. I think what any defense should do this year playing the Panthers is you stack the box and you make Baker Mayfield beat you.
Definitely.
Like I think I think that's going to be a recipe for success. You put 8 men in the box, or you give maybe a 5 lineman front. You
Mm,
basically say, okay, if McCaffrey's going to run, you're not going to get many yards, and you make Baker Mayfield do his 3, 4, 5 step drops, and you make him process the field, and you make him beat you that way. Because while I think he is capable of doing that, sometimes we've seen with Baker Mayfield, you have the highs, but you also have the lows. You saw it just last week against the Browns. 3 quarters of that game, Baker Mayfield was playing very badly, but he had that great fourth quarter, got the team back in the game, and they almost won. So
yeah,
you get the full Baker Mayfield experience just in that one game, and that experience could be he might go out there and throw 3 picks, or he could go out there and throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. I think a defense should put that all on Baker Mayfield and make him have to go beat you. So I would, if I had to pick one, I would say Baker has the better game. Now that good game could come with throwing the ball to McCaffrey 10 times, and McCaffrey, has 8 receptions for 80 yards,
true.
2 touchdowns. So it could come that way. But I think if the Panthers win this game, I think it will come off of Baker Mayfield's arm. I think that's just the way. If I were scheming a defense against the Panthers, I would make them have to play that way.
Most def, and I think the same could be said for the Giants. I think a lot of fans or teams, excuse me, that will be playing the Giants this year are telling themselves, okay, if we could take Saquon out of the game, you make Daniel Jones beat you.
Hmm.
And I definitely understand that. I love Daniel Jones, but there's things he has to work on. I think that he's a competent quarterback in this league. But again, he has to take that next step forward. I think he's in good hands in terms of coaching and having an offense being curated to him, considering that the last time that he had that was in his rookie year with Pat Shermer. So, there's a lot of things to look forward to in this game. I'm really excited to see Christian McCaffrey in this game personally. I'm really excited to see him finally healthy, on the field. And I really want to see these two running backs go at it. Who's going to have the better game? I wanted to see that last week with Derrick Henry and Saquon. I thought Saquon won that match by a long shot. But again, this team with Carolina, they are not a team to overlook. I'm telling y'all that right now. They are not a team to overlook. They can easily come in here and things start clicking and they can take over this game. I mean, I know a lot of Giants fans, including myself, are feeling very good after this win. It was an important win for the New York Giants. It was the first time us winning our home opener in 5 seasons. And the Giants are looking to go 2-0 for the first time since 2016. Um, there's a likelihood it can happen, but again, do not overlook this team, man. But what is your score prediction for this game, brother? How are you feeling about this game?
You had asked me this question a week ago, I would say the Panthers might win this game by 7 or more points. But seeing just how much the offense struggled to execute in week 1 against the Browns, this one, I picked the Panthers to lose against the Browns, even though late in that game, I believe, oh, they're going to win this game. I picked them to lose that one. This game, I think the Panthers eke out a victory. If I had to pick a score, I'd say that the Panthers having a backup kicker. That's another thing I forgot to mention. The kicker got hurt right before the season started, so they got to pick the guy off the street. So the kicking game could be a problem for the Panthers. So I think they're going to have to rely on scoring touchdowns, not field goals. I could see the game ending 21-17.
Okay, that's we're kind of near each other. That's definitely a good score there. And again, the Giants got some problems of their own that they got to sort out. Um, I really liked the offense last week. It was different compared to what I've been used to seeing as a Giants fan in recent years. But there's a lot to work on, and you got to hope that things click in this game. And hopefully, DJ can go out there and have a nice home game, really show to the fans, that he's here to stay, or so we think. But I actually have the Giants winning this game. I actually have them winning 24-21. I really wanted to go towards 30s, but I don't see that happening personally.
No, I
Um,
don't think it'd be that high scoring game.
Nah, exactly. I think it's going to be a lot closer than that. I could see, 24-21. I could see 21-17. I could see being a low scoring game as well. And it's going to
Yeah.
be fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun to see these two guys back healthy. Again, the storylines in this game, there's so many of them. But again, I appreciate you taking the time to come talk with us, brother. It's been a great show. It's been a lot of fun for me. Any
Oh, thanks
last
for having me.
words? Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely, brother. Any last words you'd like to say to the people before we sign up?
Yeah, so I am Dat Dude Sports. That's DATDUDEL on YouTube. Check me out. I've just started with the sports channel, I want to say a couple months ago, and it's been, I think, fairly good progress. But I make these videos just for the fun of it. I'm a huge Panthers fan, been one for as long as I can remember. I was born in '94. The Panthers became a team, I want to say, like in '95. So I was destined to be a Panthers fan. I live in the
Yeah,
Charlotte area. It's just I was destined to be this, whether or not they're good or bad. Always gonna love the team, but I try to be realistic about what they can and cannot do. So yeah, if you have any people watch your channel or interested in the Panthers, check out my channel. And I also occasionally make videos about other things that aren't based on the Panthers, but that's largely what I cover. Yeah, check
awesome.
me out. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all go subscribe to him, show him some love. He makes great content over there, man. I'm telling you, go subscribe. But it's been a great talk. I appreciate you stopping by. Giants fans, again, got ourselves a really good game this Sunday. It's going to be hard, but let's try to pull out with the dub. Until then, we'll see you guys in the next video.